I'm out here this morning with one of my talented junior golfers, Stephen Weingroff, and we're on the 16th hole here at Alpine, which is a good par 3. It plays about 175 yards today. There's a little bit of breeze into our face, about 10 to 15 miles an hour. So Steve, tell me, what kind of shot would you envision yourself playing on this hole?
Yeah, I see it today playing about a good, hard, solid 7-iron.
Okay.
Not too much at the pin.
Okay. All right, why don't you show us a couple shots? So Steve's an interesting case because he's young and he's got tons of talent and pretty raw. He's a really big kid who creates a lot of speed for his age. So he's sort of like trying to pull the reins back on him a little bit. He can get up there and hit a 7-iron, almost 200 yards if he had to. So it's sort of teaching him that you're not always playing to a yardage. Sometimes it's got to be a little bit more finesse involved, and that might mean hitting an extra club or an extra 2 clubs and making a little bit of a different swing at it. So he's one of these typical kid. He hits a 7-iron 190 yards, so if it's a 190 yard shot, he always grabs a 7-iron. So having the numbers to back up why that might not be the best play, even though he can hit it that distance, is huge. All right, Steve, why don't you come over here and have a look at some of the numbers from that shot. So this hole, like we said, is playing 174 yards to the flag, and the carry distance was actually quite good. You hit that one 169 yards, but you pulled it a little left, and the spin was a little up. Your spin was a little over 6,800 there. I think hitting a hard shot with this wind is probably not in your best interest. You kind of jumped on that one a little bit, and you can see you kind of pulled it a little bit left as a result. The spin's a little bit high there. I think if we hit a little bit less club, maybe a 6-iron, and swung a little bit softer, I think we could bring the dynamic loft down a little bit, probably bring the spin rate down a little bit, and keep this carry distance to be, almost the same. So let's try one of those.
All right.
If I see a student who's, hitting shots hard, so to speak, I see them missing left a lot. The spin is down a little bit because of that as well, but they're taking deeper divots. Their technique is changing. They're usually losing angles a little bit because they're sort of going after and trying to hit it hard. It changes everything. The distance might be, in the ballpark or the range of what they're looking for, but they suffer in other areas: dispersion, contact point on the club face, things like that. So Steve, that looked like a much more controlled shot. Why don't you come on over here and take a look at the difference in numbers. That was great. So the carry distance here, as you can see, was almost the same. It was 169, so it's within a yard of where the 7-iron was. The landing angle came down, which is great. It went from 54 to 47.8, which is excellent. The dynamic loft also came down about 1 degree to 20. And the spin came down a little bit, which is good. Probably would like to see that number even come down a little bit more. It was 66.08, but the first one you hit went a little bit left, right? So that's going to take some loft off it, and the spin is not going to spin as much. So that dispersion is probably going to only improve with this shot. But I like the 6-iron better. You went at it a little bit easier. You played a little bit less aggressively with it. That took some spin off it, and it also allowed you to hold the line a little bit better. The first one with a 7-iron, you jumped on it, you pulled it a little bit left. So all of these numbers, landing angle, dynamic loft, and spin rate, all came down at the same time, and you kept the carry the same. So I like the soft 6-iron. I think that will make a big difference with this particular shot. When he was first hitting the 7-iron on the 16th hole there for us, he was hitting it the right yardage. So he would look at that and be like, all right, there's my number, this is the club. But when you start to show him things like spin and dynamic loft and landing angle, and explain how those numbers could be a little bit better and keep the carry distance the same like we did, it opens his eyes to saying, there might be a better way of doing it. Not that his way is wrong. He's going to be pin high a lot, but if you gave him 10 shots with a 7 and 10 shots with a 6-iron, he's going to hit the soft 6 more consistently better.